There are a couple of questions from Commissioner Baloyi.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Behari, you, in that last discussion, just before we broke, remember you were talking about what you took into account, what Spee's statement, and that it wasn't going to be helpful, so his evidence wouldn't be helpful. What I wanted to check with you was, did you point out difficulties where you say we don't have a statement from Weeks, we don't have a statement, Mzolo is non-committal, and what Mkwabe says as well. Did you consider what Mkwanazi himself said in the course of that investigation? When you formed the view that the disciplinary proceedings, there was a risk that they're not sustainable, did you take into account what they have drawn from Brigadier Mkwanazi in the investigation?
Can you refer me to that somewhere, Chair?
Well, one of the things he did was he provided MOUs that he said, these are the MOUs that were entered into between CAT VIP and the city. Did you consider those? Because they were given in the investigation.
Chair, I did consider that what he was about the MOUs.
You did or you did not?
I did consider that.
Yes.
The MOUs were not signed from what I understood.
Yes.
And for him to have relied on an unsigned MOU would have made no sense.
Yes.
Because there's no approval by in that matter, there's two types. The MOUs are dealt with at different levels.
Yes.
Because an MOU in the structure in the city of Ekurhuleni is that it is non-committal. It cannot commit the city to anything.
Yes.
An MOU can be signed then by the chief of police. If it's a department, it's applied to all the department heads.
Yes.
So if it's concerning a department, the heads can sign it. If it's something having a wide-ranging citywide impact, then the city manager is to sign the agreement. What I looked at, Chair, furthermore, in terms of that was, there was nothing, any indication of the statement by Lethal Tires and the statement by Jermaine Fortain speak to the process of going to get approval for the MOU. Jermaine Fortain, I think he was acting on instructions of Mkwanazi. He submitted that to the office of the chief of police. Lethal Tires confirmed she printed those MOUs and left it at that. There was thereafter nothing.
Yes.
There was nothing happened. So in terms of then did the chief consider it? Why didn't he call if it was not something that should have been proceeded with further? I believe that, and that's one of the discussions where we said, but chief of police, the MOUs came to your attention or did not? Because from the trail.
Yes, they may have come to his attention. What I'm checking with you is you took into account what was in the file from the investigation, from Erasmus's investigation. Now we know from earlier evidence that was presented here that Brigadier Mkwanazi relied on these two MOUs, right, as authority for doing what he has done. Now, if you looked at them and you saw that they were not signed, you would have known they are not authority for what he did with the vehicles. You would have known that, and so you would have known that, in fact, he did not have authority to do this, and he knew he doesn't have authority because these MOUs are not signed. Right? That's a fair proposition to make, right? Now, if you are aware of that and you are looking at this docket, how do you still say that the charges against him are not sustainable?
Chair, because the MOUs that were taken, it shows that it was supported by Mkwanazi. That's a document I think I've seen. Where he signed on the one hand, which is supported by Mkwanazi. The trail then leads to the chief of police, and my issue is then, it came to his attention, or it didn't come to his attention. What MOUs were put forward by Mkwanazi to Steyn to say we have a relationship or we have this MOUs, that was incorrect. However, there was further than that. You had to go back and say, but then Chief what is the chief's, and this is what I'm saying from the beginning, when my issues were, when I looked at the process, and I said these could be matters implicating the chief of police and senior management.
No, how does that implicate the chief? We are talking about what Brigadier Mkhwanazi puts forward as the document that authorized him. Forget the chief's signature. Brigadier Mkhwanazi provides what he considers a full answer to I was authorized. There was authority, and he has proof of it.
Yeah.
And the proof of it that he provides is not signed by anyone representing the city or with authority to represent the city. Now, you head of legal, you know this is not authority to do what he has done. Forget the chief. Maybe the chief was in dereliction of duty. He didn't sign. But we know in the course of this investigation, the chief says, I know nothing about this. He says that, right? And that's the evidence we have before us. He says, I didn't know anything about this. In fact, we know from the evidence of Commissioner Spies that even these memoranda, they were being questioned, about are these even genuine documents? Have they been made up? Sorry, I forget the correct word for it. But there was a question about even these documents, whether they had ever been served to anyone in the EMPD. But that's not even the thrust of my question to you. My question to you is, you have taken into account what the other people have said, what Christine has said. You've taken into account what you say is Gwabe's statement. And I think all that statement says is VIP or Medicare has given us 300,000 Rand worth of stationery, so it has nothing to do with the charges that Brigadier Mkhwanazi is accused of. You've taken Mzolo's statement into account, and you want Jeff Wick's statement. So we know you've taken certain facts into account, but you do not take into account at all, at least according to your statement, because you don't deal with it in your statement. You don't take into account at all what Brigadier Mkhwanazi himself has said and done, which is contained in the investigation file. And yet you conclude that the charges against him are not sustainable. Maybe make me understand how you thought about it.
Chair, the issue of Brigadier Mkhwanazi didn't draw my attention because I accepted he had done something wrong. It's in the statement in which he signed the one, I think it was the one MOU that I've seen, where he said supported, he had done something wrong in presenting that to Christine. That's beyond the thing. So in respect of what I discussed with Erasmus was to see then how do we concretize and make sure that we cover all our witnesses. Mkhwanazi will be coming in from a position of an accused person, so he will have his version. But from our side, from the city, what would our witnesses need to be for us to have a case that we don't have those issues? So I've considered that. What I'm saying is I didn't discuss that with Erasmus for the sake that it doesn't help the city's case to listen to him. We were looking at on the other witnesses.
But maybe lastly, let me say this to you, suggest this to you, that on Brigadier Mkhwanazi's own explanation as contained in that investigation report of Erasmus, which we have seen, just on his version, there was a case for the city. If you've read that report, you would know, and you've seen what he says, he offers as an explanation for what happened. You would have known and should have known that there is a case for him to answer, just on his version.
Chair, I agree with that. On his version, I agree with it.
Thank you. All right.
My issue was about our case going forward because it still had to go into a disciplinary environment. We still have to secure all the witnesses. So at the time when somebody is on the accused side, there's several issues that could have been raised. Hence, my intention was, let's just secure our side. What is within our control? Our control is the witnesses who will be testifying on behalf of the city to finalize and get a successful case. That is what my intention was.
Thank you, Mr. Bear. Thank you, Chair.
Just on a very limited aspect, Mr. Behari, just the aspect relating to the memorandum, let me call it the donation memorandum, just that limited aspect. You should have been aware, and in fact, I think you admit in response to Commissioner Baloyi's questions, you were aware that one of the documents that were given to Mr. Chris Stein by Brigadier Mkwanazi was this donation memorandum. You've already agreed. Now, I say limited or narrow issue in this sense. That donation memorandum was given to Mr. Chris Stein to support this idea that there was, in fact, an agreement of donation between Egoruleni and CAT VIP, correct?
That's correct.
You have said that there was in fact, no donation, correct?
Yes, it was not a procedural correct.
There was no donation.
Yes.
Simple and straightforward. And that immediately means that when Brigadier Mkwanazi said to Chris Stein there is in existence a donation, the proof of which is contained in the donation memorandum, he was misrepresenting the true position, correct?
It's correct. He was misrepresenting the fact that there was a donation.
Yes.
In the MOU. Also,
yes.
For example, there was a approved MOU to support the fact that there was a donation.
Is there a need to explain? The question is simple. He was misrepresenting the true position. True position being that, in fact, there was no donation. Correct? Yes or no? It's a simple question.
Chair, there was, if you look at following through of the process,
was there or wasn't there a donation?
They would have not.
You've already said there was not, correct?
There was no donation.
Yes. So I'm saying when Brigadier Mkwanazi says to Mr. Chris Stein, there is a donation and therefore please register these vehicles, he was misrepresenting the true position. It's a simple question. I don't know why you cannot simply agree that what I'm positing to you is correct.
May I, Chair, it is correct in terms of how you're positing to me that there was not donation because of the misrepresentation.
No. I'm not asking you. I'm past the question whether there was in fact a donation. I'm asking you a different question now. I'm asking you whether you agree that Brigadier Mkwanazi was misrepresenting the true position. Do you agree or not?
I agree.
When I introduced my questions, I said I'm going to ask you questions on a very narrow or limited situation. Was that not enough to discipline Brigadier Mkwanazi? He is lying about the true position, exposing the municipality to the possibility of these motor vehicles being registered in the name of the municipality on the basis that there is in existence a lawful donation, which there wasn't. Is that not enough to discipline Brigadier Mkwanazi?
It is on its own enough to proceed with the
You say it is on its own enough?
For the disciplinary process.
Yes.
Right. But as I said, my looking at it holistically, there were other factors that had to be addressed, Chair. If I look at...
Just a minute, even before you substantiate on them. If you say that was enough to discipline Brigadier Mkwanazi, would those factors have impacted negatively on what you agree was enough to discipline Brigadier Mkwanazi?
It would have possibly impacted, in terms of the evidence trail and possibly...
You love evidence trail, Brigadier. Mr. I'm sorry. You love this evidence trail. Yes, let me listen.
May I, Chair?
Yes, please.
Chair, on page 14 of my affidavit, on 62, I think earlier on in answering it, But we asked that, did you give a way forward?
Which paragraph? Which
Paragraph
paragraph?
6.2. I think we referred to that earlier.
Yes.
And I said, if in my engagements with Colonel Erasmus, if the investigations were complete, charges could be proceeded with without extending the suspension. So in what has been presented by in the docket itself, mine was to say to him, you can still proceed with the charges without extending these. And then you come back to 63. If the investigation required further statements, those should be obtained without delay. So in all I'm trying to do, I'm pushing for credibility in terms of the way we finalize the process. If you relied only on the MOU and said, okay, now these are the donation process that was followed. The fact is, Chris Steyn brings in, although he says the statements came through, or the MOU came to his knowledge, Makunazi, which I agree, misrepresented Chris Steyn on that basis. But then he has a curveball, but this was the process. So surely he should have applied his mind and seeing that this document is not approved. Did he merely take it by the word? And that is what I'm saying, that in terms of the evidence trail, did he merely look at an unsigned document? You can see there's no signatures there, yet he proceeds to do what he did.
You see, even in response to questions by Commissioner Baloyi, you did the same thing of suggesting that no. Actually, the chief of police was in the wrong here, basically saying he's the one who ought to have been charged. And now again, you seem to be suggesting the same thing, but this time about Mr. Chris Steyn. And the one person who is not in the wrong in your book is Brigadier Mkhwanazi. Everybody else is in the wrong, but not Brigadier Mkhwanazi.
Respectfully, Chair.
Yes.
I've said it very clearly. Mkhwanazi misrepresented.
I corrected Commissioner Spies when he said Mkhwanazi. There's no A there. It's Mkhwanazi. Mkhwanazi. Please.
Mkhwanazi is in the wrong, or was in the wrong, in the misrepresentation. And I Chair, again, I'm focusing on the fact is...
Did you ever say that anyway? You accept now that he was in the wrong, and you've accepted a few questions back when I engaged you that he could be disciplined on that. Are you on record anywhere as having said that? Nowhere. Are you?
Chair, because I was focusing on our city's case.
On your evidence trail.
On my evidence trail.
Which you so love, yes.
Yeah. Chair, my apologies, Chair, if I'm offending.
Yes.
But if you allow me, then...
Yes.
I was in that environment. I do this on a regular basis in terms of going to the full scope of the evidence trail. Mkhwanazi, I already accepted there were allegations within him. That is why I didn't focus on him and what he's done. I focused on what is our case as a city. What do we need to ensure that we cover up all the loopholes so that we have a successful case against Mkhwanazi. The same issue was my concern on the chief of police. And if he says, I'm hearing now that he says that the document never came before, he denied it. I looked at that stage of the affidavit of Jermaine Fortin. I looked at the affidavit of Lethal Tires, his secretary, who printed those documents and left there. So those were the issues in the engagement. So in terms of getting all the witnesses, so if chief of police comes now and says, no, I was not aware of it, then surely chief of police will be called in some way to answer, even not as an implicated or accused person, but as in the witness environment, which he would have been testifying. So in order to strengthen the city's case, Chair,
who denied what document? Somewhere in this response, you said somebody denied some document. Who denied what document?
If I may, I don't know if I'm quoting what you stated, Commissioner Baloyi, when you said Chief came and said that the documents did not come. Maybe I don't know if I misunderstood that.
All right. No, I just wanted to be. You see, what confuses me is that my focus is on Brigadier Mkhwanazi. Now, when you go on and quite wide, I get confused along the way. Now, did you, in this lengthy advice to Colonel Erasmus, did you anywhere say, of all the things I'm saying, but we have a good case on which Brigadier Mkhwanazi may be disciplined, and that case is that he has misrepresented that there is in existence the donations memorandum. On that, we have a good case. Did you say that to Erasmus? Did you say that to Erasmus?
Chair, I did not say that.
To Colonel Erasmus, I'm very sorry for not using
I
this
did not say that to Lieutenant Colonel Erasmus, because I've accepted that the Brigadier's Mkhwanazi's statements also confirm that he did misrepresent to Christine. My focus has always been on what is our case, because when I find that when people in an environment in many courts will come through and it can change, so we can secure from a cities-wide position and secure that Christine in no way puts the city's case at risk. And these are the other issues. So that is what my interest was. So when I said to Lieutenant Colonel Erasmus, in paragraph 62, if the investigation was complete, so if he felt it was complete, proceed without extending the suspension, because...
You see, my difficulty is that of all the many things you said, and of all the many difficulties you said were facing the EMPD, not once do you say, but we have a good case here. That's my problem.
Chair,
it's like you just did not want to make any pronouncement against Brigadier Mkhwanazi. So of all the many things, the difficulties and everything else that you raise, not once do you say, however, we have a very good case against Brigadier Mkhwanazi on this narrow or on this limited aspect. Nowhere.
Chair, as I said, for me, engaging with him, I accepted the MOU story, I accepted the fact of the operational plan issues. My focus was then on us concretizing our case. And hence I said to him, if you feel that all the investigations are complete,
that's
proceed.
About your case. That's about your case. What I'm raising with you is about your case. It may not have been about the entire case, but it was a crucial part of the case because it related to the registration of the motor vehicles. That was a crucial issue. That was a key part of the case against Brigadier Mkhwanazi. Why are you silent about that?
Chair, it was a key point, it was a key issue with regard to the case against Mkhwanazi for the donations. The issue would be on the witnesses of Christine, because that is, it's not about him just being disciplined, Chair. It's about him testifying on behalf of the city. Says that you are giving, I've received a letter of donation.
Who testifying for the city? Who?
Christine.
I'm talking about Brigadier Mkhwanazi, the case which is quite strong. You've accepted yourself. You've accepted that on this, there's a misrepresentation.
Yes.
And you've also accepted, quite early on when I was engaging you, you've accepted that this was a prosecutable case. This was a case on which he could be disciplined. You've accepted that.
Chair, I confirm that.
Yes.
I've accepted that.
Yes.
But beyond that, beyond a prosecutable case, the actual process to continue with the prosecution and to make sure that there's a successful prosecution, that is where my focus was on. So in engaging with any Erasmus, this is what I'm saying to him. How do we close the loopholes? If the witness that's coming to show that he processed the donations, and then he received a MOU which was unsigned, at the very face value, he should have realized that this is not approved and raised a question with
on this limited aspect, you did not need Mr. Jeff Weeks. Agree? On this narrow, on what I've been referring to as a limited or narrow issue, you did not need Mr. Jeff Weeks.
Now, correct? On that issue, we did not need, we did not need Jeff Weeks.
Yes.
But
okay.
Remember, I was looking at this docket and the possible charges. There were almost six charges, I think.
You've already said you did not need him. On this narrow, limited issue, you did not need Deputy Chief Mzolo.
No, I did not need Mzolo.
Yes. On this narrow issue, you did not need DCP Kwabe.
No, I think Gwabe was important to have come through in terms of speaking to the donations, especially with the 300,000 donations, what we understood by the process.
Throughout in my debate with you, leading up to your agreement that he could be disciplined, Major Brigadier Mkhwanazi could be disciplined. Throughout, there's been no mention of a statement by Mr. Gwabe. Your agreement was based on the fact that there was a misrepresentation by Brigadier Mkhwanazi, and that just on that basis he could be disciplined. That has nothing to do with DCP Gwabe. Do you agree?
On the narrow constraint you referred to,
Yes.
based on Mkhwanazi's.
I deliberately referred to it as a limited or narrow issue. Do you agree that that did not need DCP Gwabe?
No, Chair, on that particular issue, no. But Christine was important in that, Chair.
Thank you. It didn't need him. That's your answer. Then the letter from Fleet. Yes, definitely. You did need Mr. Christine, but I'm not sure about the letter. But definitely, he would have had to be a witness. But I'm not sure about the letter you are referring to. I will stop.
Ms. Ngcobe, can I just finish off on the earlier topic? Just to correct. Just to correct what you say in your statement, at paragraph 58, where you speak about DCP Gwabe's statement, which suggested that the entire senior management team of EMPD had knowledge of CAT VIP's involvement in EMPD operations. That's in your statement at paragraph 58. Now, DCP Gwabe's statement is in a file, it's in the Kolani Ngqiza file. You should have it there, and it's file 2 of 2, page 277. File 2 of 2, annexes at 277. I've read it. Nowhere does it speak to what you are saying in that paragraph. And so your paragraph 58 misrepresents what that statement says. And this was part of the investigation file that was conducted by Mr. Erasmus. All it says is, and it's a bit on the long side, and I don't want to read it unless the chair says it's necessary to read it into the record. You can have a quick read to refresh yourself, but you will see, and you should agree with me, that it says nothing about the entire senior management team of EMPD having knowledge of CAT VIP's involvement in EMPD operations.
Chair, there is a document that I looked at. I'll find the document. I'm not sure if it's supplementary, but it referred to a report being sent through on the training. I'm not sure if it's here. I can't read.
Yes, this statement speaks
when
about
I was
the
giving
training.
the training academy report back in one of the chief senior management team. So the training report, I'm not sure, the training report is not exactly here for the contents, but the training report would have been in terms of the training and the money received.
Yes.
So if you gave the chief senior management team would have been then the chief of police and the divisional heads, so I indicated the course is continuing due to assistance from the private company that printed the issues. So they would have aware of that. Then the private company, in terms of linked that as per the 300 books. So that is what I was referring to, Chair. So if it's interpreted as saying that no, but this is what I took, the senior management team was briefed by Gwabe as to.
Maybe that did happen, but in this case, you have the file, so you're making these comments from Mr. Erasmus's file. This is after Mr. Erasmus speaks to you, and you don't say a report to senior management team. You say the content of DCP Gwabe's statement, which suggested that the entire senior management, what I'm pointing out to you is this statement, which on the evidence before us was part of what was collected during the investigation. This statement says nothing that supports what you're saying in paragraph 58.
Chair, I was talking to this paragraph 5.
Which paragraph 5?
Paragraph 5 of Kwabe's statement. When I was giving Training Academy report back in one of the chief senior management team, I indicated the course is continuing. So in the reporting of your team, if you look at follow the thread, it spoke about the 300 and the 300 or the donations and so on, or what was required. Hence, I should have added there that there's an external donor. So the external donor came from, I think it was, but somebody linked.
Mr. Behari, in that statement, you say that, in fact, firstly, the assistance came from Medicare 24. It didn't come from the CAT VIP. So what you're saying in your paragraph 58 is not correct. There was no assistance for stationery from CAT VIP. So it's not correct what you're saying there, just on that point
On
alone.
that point,
So on that point alone, can we agree that the training came from
Medicare.
Medicare 24 or the stationary assistance, not from CAT VIP? So you're not correct to say it came from CAT VIP. We've agreed that. 2, nothing in this paragraph 5 says the senior management of EMPD were aware of CAT VIP's involvement in the operations of EMPD. There's nothing, however you choose to read the statement of DCP Gwabe, no way does it confirm what you are saying in your paragraph 58. Can we agree that?
we can agree that, Chair. I just want to know, in terms of the private company, so the evidence has been showing that the Medicare, okay, I accept it was not CAT VIP, but Medicare. It seemed to be those two companies that were together in the involvement at City of Kurleni. But when it says, I indicated that the course is continuing due to the assistance we got from the private company.
Yes, that's not CAT VIP.
No.
He doesn't say that. You see, what you represent in paragraph 58 is very specific. You can't change the CAT VIP that you've put in there to now read as if it's not there. You have said, Gwabe confirmed the involvement of CAT VIP in the affairs, in the operations of EMPD, and you say it's in his statement. His statement makes no mention of CAT VIPs, right? Of CAT VIP, it doesn't mention it. That's all I'm checking with you. Firstly, that you accept the statement doesn't say what you have said in your paragraph 58. But 2, I'm also making the correction that the stationary assistance did not come from CAT VIP. It came from Medicare 24.
No, I accepted that.
Okay.
I'm saying I agree with the Medicare, but it was from a private company.
Yes.
And they ought to have known where the donations came from.
Yes. And then still in that file, if you would go to page 282. And there are 2, this is the intention to suspension letter, which should read intention to suspend. And the employee is Judas Mkwanazi, then Director Specialized Services. And it is signed by Mr. Niza Kashek and Ms. Kasheka. And it has provision for signature by Chief of Police, they copied the Chief of Police. Now there are 2 parts to it. And I would like to start at page 282, the lower part of it, where they talk about the employer has reasonable cause to believe that given your position, and they're addressing Brigadier Mkwanazi at the time, Director Mkwanazi, your position and role in the municipality, your presence in the workplace may, 1, jeopardize the investigation that are required to be conducted on the matters raised herein. 2, you may interfere with potential witnesses. What should be 3 is numbered 2 again. It says you may commit further acts of misconduct. Now, when you speak to Mr. Erasmus, and you say in your paragraph 62 of the statement, if the investigation was complete, charges should be proceeded with without extending the suspension. Did you have any regard to the potential to interfere with witnesses, which was a condition, which was an explanation why he was suspended? Did you have regard to the potential to commit further acts of misconduct? And if you did consider them, why did you advise Mr. Erasmus that if you have completed your investigation, he must come back to work?
Chair, I did consider the concerns raised here, or the issues stipulated here, and why I advised Lieutenant Colonel Erasmus to proceed immediately with the proceedings, the disciplinary proceedings, because there is a provision in the disciplinary code. If you proceeded on, when I met Colonel Erasmus or Lieutenant Colonel Erasmus before the 24th, when the suspension would have expired, if you proceeded with that, then you can have this provision for the further period to continue to be extended for a further 3 months. That's in, I think, 16.4 of the disciplinary code as well. So if the disciplinary process is started, they'll continue to be on suspension.
No. He is suspended for 3 months. The letter says that. He's suspended for 3 months. At least that was the evidence, that the suspension is for 3 months. Now, you say to Mr. Erasmus, if you have completed the investigation, proceed to charge without extending the suspension. Without extending the suspension is let it lapse. So he will come back to work. That's what it means. It needed to be extended if it was going to endure beyond 3 months. You accept that. It would have to be extended.
That is what the initial period provided for is 3 months.
Yes. And you say to Mr. Erasmus, to Colonel Erasmus, that proceed to charge, but do not extend the suspension. That's what you're saying.
Chair, because if you proceeded with charge, 16.4 of the disciplinary code, Chair, the suspension or utilization of the employee in another capacity, so the suspension for a fixed period and a predetermined period is stated there for the 3 months. However, where circumstances prohibit the conclusion of the disciplinary proceedings, so if you're charging, that means you're starting off the disciplinary proceedings. Right. Then the time frames could be extended for a further 3 months.
Yes.
So ENSA asked him to proceed immediately. Because if you proceeded immediately, he's still on suspension, that is a week before that actual suspension. If he proceeded with terminated, he would have been then to ask for a further 3 month suspension. And the proceedings here, once the proceedings start, the suspension continues.
No, it doesn't continue automatically, Mr. Behari. It's a suspension for a fixed period. It's for 3 months. And that's why there's a request to extend, right? It doesn't continue in perpetuity. There's 3 months period, and there's a request to extend it because of a recognition that if it is not extended, it will expire. That's why Mr. Erasmus comes to you. He didn't need you to say to him, charge him now, so that the extension carries on, if that was the position. He came to you because of the realization that we are about to have this suspension expire. So he comes to you and you advise and say, charge him without extending.
Yes, Chair. If you charge, I said before, he saw me about a week around the period before the suspension expired. Right. If you charged him immediately on that day, say the next day, the proceedings would have started effectively. And then 16.4, in my assessment, kicks in. 16.4 of the disciplinary code to say that if it is not possible to finish it, the suspension continues for a further 3 months.
Can you read that into the record?
16.4 of the disciplinary code. The suspension or utilization of the employee in another capacity shall be for a fixed period and determined period and shall not exceed a period of 3 months. So that's where we sitting with. From the date that the municipal manager or his authorized representative is satisfied that there is a prima facie case that an act of misconduct has been confirmed, that date then would have been the 12th of April from when NISA decided that there is a case to carry on with. then the 3 months would have then came to an end for the suspension on the 24th. But if you proceeded immediately, because it is serious, we are saying that it is a serious issue. If you proceeded immediately, that means you still had for an extended period until...
No, I asked that you read it into the
sorry,
record.
okay.
The rest will be a
me
debate
proceed.
about what it means. I needed you to read it into the record.
All right. So he says, however, circumstances prohibit the conclusion, where circumstances prohibit the conclusion of the disciplinary proceedings within the aforementioned time frames, such suspension or utilization in another capacity can be extended for a further 3 months.
Yes. Suspension can be extended. It doesn't extend automatically. It can be extended. That's the operational word. So the extension is defensible. You can defend it on the basis of the clause that you have read. That's how you defend the extension. You say it is authorized by 16.4 to extend
Yes.
the suspension. It doesn't extend automatically.
So, Chair, I accept that. What I'm saying is, given the veracity, the seriousness of what has been raised, and my saying to proceed immediately if your investigations are complete, proceed immediately. And then once that the first time for which to finish the initial period for the first 3 month period would have ended in the 12th of July. Then when the other cases are going on, there would have been a strong case to make out to say, no, let's proceed for that in itself would be the HOD-HR would have had that way to grant the extension. And given the entire process, she could have granted it. So I'm saying this was a way of which I thought could have been a way forward as well.
Okay. And then lastly, from me at least, still at that page 282, and this goes to, I just want you to look at what the charges were, and then on the back of this very past conversation that you've had with the chairperson about what letters you required or what statements you still required. I just want you to look at the charges. The first charge is gross dishonesty in respect of a letter of confirmation allegedly issued by you on or about the 21st of October 2021. Do you remember what that was about?
I think that letter was to whom it may concern.
Yes, that this man, that whoever is the bearer of this letter.
Yes.
Yes. So that didn't require Zolo, Weeks, and Gwabe, and Stein to say anything, right?
No, Chair, on its own, it did not require, if you proceeded with that charge,
Yes.
to say that you issued a letter, which was, he didn't have the authority to issue such a letter, a blanket letter,
Yes.
because we do not know who could have been using the letter for what purposes.
Yes.
Yes.
So what I'm saying to you is that the shortcomings that you have listed here as potentially risky to any disciplinary proceedings, none of them are applicable to that charge. Has nothing to do with it.
Specifically on that, no, Chair.
This particular charge, right? The second one, it says failure to perform your tasks diligently and to the best of your abilities by issuing an unauthorized letter to civilians. It's still the same thing.
In the same letter.
Allegations of gross dishonesty and possible corruption by receiving a donation in excess of limits as prescribed by council. Here we know it's at 300, at least that's what we were told. It related to the 300,000 training materials.
That's not correct, Chair. There's no limitation to the amounts of donation you can receive.
Yes. No, I'm not debating whether there is such a thing. I'm saying this charge, allegations of dishonesty, this did not involve Mr. Wicks at all. You didn't need a statement from Mr. Wicks for this.
No,
you
we
didn't need a statement from Mr. Stein for this. Or you didn't even have to take into account Mr. Stein's statement about this.
Yes, well...
Okay. All right. And you did not need Zolo for this. Maybe you needed Gwabe. We do have an affidavit from Gwabe.
Just for clarity, Chair, if I may.
Yes.
On Roman numeral 3, allegations of gross dishonesty and possible corruption by receiving a donation in excess of the limits as prescribed by council policy. Chair, this is for me an incorrect charge. I mean, what are the limits prescribed in council. So these are the issues we have to look at.
Maybe it is an incorrect charge, but it's not one of the things you listed in your statement as one of your areas of concern. So remember what we are doing. The exercise that we are doing now is you have told us from paragraph 56 up to 59 what you pointed out as areas that would undermine the case of the city, of the municipality, right? If not addressed. So I'm working on that basis. And I'm saying Roman figure 3 relates to the donation for printing material. That's a charge. It would have failed, maybe, because, if you're correct, it may have failed because there's no limit to donations. But that's not what you have said here in your statement. You don't say, I told Erasmus that that charge will not succeed because there are no limits. You're not saying no limits to donations. That's not what you're saying to him.
Chair,
Yes.
the engagement with Erasmus was holistically and a generalistic issue of what I believe. Now here, in terms of Roman numeral 3, firstly, it's not because if the vehicles were being donated, that's a donation. The 300,000 donated for the materials was also a donation. So if we're saying that this part 3 refers to the 300,000, which I can't see specifically here, normally, you go and explain which specifically is. So if it's a 300,000, then it would have been Guave. It would have been Stein, because he's also then dealing with the vehicles issue. So there's 2 important aspects to clarify from them. It would not have needed Jeff Wicks, because Jeff Wicks has done a thing. But it could have been needed Mzolo, because Mzolo's part of this entire process spoke to the continuation of instructions that Mzolo gave to Mkonazi during that acting period.
Okay.
So hence, I'm saying, if you look at that is my response, Chair.
All right. Let's do Roman figure 4. Allegations of violating council policy by not declaring the donation so received and or not submitting said donation to the finance department of the municipality. So we know we are not talking about vehicles in Roman figure 4.
Chair,
And I would like you to say in your statement, paragraph 56, 57, 58, 59, which you say relates to this Roman figure 4 charge.
yeah, so you are talking about the vehicles. If you're talking about a donation, Chair, you're talking about a donation irrespective of the form. It could be in cash or it could be in other assets.
Mr. Behari, in Roman figure 4, what do you see referring to vehicles? Why do you think anything in Roman figure 4 refers to vehicles?
It says allegation. So in Roman numeral 3, we speak about donations generally. So in terms of 2 donations pertinent to this matter was the vehicles, and then it was although we said it was an irregular process. Right.
So
And then-
you're saying he was being charged for not declaring to finance vehicles that have been donated to the municipality. Is that what you say this charge was about?
So that is what I'm saying. He's been charged for all the donations, with the 300,000 plus the vehicles.
Yes.
Now,
But we agreed did not have anything to do with Mr. Wick's statement. You didn't need a Mr. Wick statement for this
I
charge.
agreed on that with Wicks itself, Chair.
Okay, let's move on to 5. Allegations of allowing and or directing Metro Police officers under your command to perform illicit and or unauthorized duties, operations. Can you agree it has nothing to do with Mr. Wicks's statement or absence of? It has nothing to do with the absence of a statement from Deputy Chief Mzolo. It has nothing to do with the statement of DCP Gwabe that we have discussed, and has nothing to do with the letter from Mr. Stein. Can we agree that?
Chair, before I come into agreeing or not, I'm not aware of what this so it's allegation of allowing and or directing Metro Police officers under your command to perform illicit or unauthorized duties, operations. I'm not sure what that was referring to specifically.
Exactly the point. Why would you say that the case against him on this charge 5 is unsustainable if you know nothing about it? All you have is charge 5 written the way that it is, but you express a view that the case against Brigadier Mkwanazi is at risk. The charges may not be sustainable.
Chair,
And yet you say you know nothing about that Roman figure 5.
Chair, it doesn't specify to what incident specifically is being referred
Yes,
to.
I see that.
Right. Now, in terms of the witnesses that have been, the statements that have been on the file itself, there was nothing then to say that this witness is going to deal with this charge and so on. So hence, that is why I asked, is your investigation is complete, proceed. But there's no indication here. And I understand allegation of allowing undirected Metro Police officers. There's no allegation supported by the evidence or the witnesses' statements to say that Mkonazi.
It's not one of the things you point out, is my point to you, Mr. Behari, that it's not one of the things you point out in your advice or in your conversation with Mr. Erasmus. You don't say to him, go and get more information about the Church 5. You are very specific about what you say are the shortcomings. You've named them, and we can't walk away from that. You've named what you identified as shortcomings, and all I'm putting to you, or I'm discussing with you, is these shortcomings that you have identified. None of them speak to Church 5. It's simply that.
So I'll have to cross-reference in that. Is it anywhere in that investigation bundle that you can refer this letter to me?
What do you want to see in the
I'm
investigation?
going to see that this document itself, whether it was included in the Erasmus bundle.
Well, if it wasn't included in the Erasmus bundle, I'll be very worried, because then you expressed a view about the prospects of a disciplinary hearing when you don't know what the charges are.
No.
So in your favor, I assume you've seen this charge sheet. When you say to Mr. Erasmus, this case may be at risk, in that the charges may not be sustainable.
Chair, I dealt with the response to Erasmus in looking at the statements that he had been provided by the witnesses.
So you did not see the charge sheet?
As I said, I want to just see if I've not missed it perhaps in that, but I didn't recall to this extent here. But
yeah, Mr. Behari, I would expect that you have seen this charge sheet. If you are going to express a view, you could not express a view based on statements in the file. You would have looked at what are the charges, and then looked at what the statements, what is the evidence that they say they have collected to prove these charges. And if you did not do that, then I won't even call it dereliction of duty. If you did not have the charge sheet in front of you, then it is even more concerning that you would have expressed views about the prospects of a disciplinary hearing if you didn't have the charge sheet in front of you. And it is a charge sheet. I would expect you to remember it, that you saw it or not.
Chair, I looked at the investigation report.
Yes.
The investigation report of Erasmus, when there was a request for disciplinary tribunal,
Yes.
the document signed by the chief was saying allegations
Okay.
of...
If you look at that bundle,
Yeah.
the very first page, investigation report starts at page 17 to 286. This page is 282. So you did have this suspension letter in front of you.
Just,
If
I'm just
you
checking
say
for
that the
it.
investigation-
In the bundle, Chair, in the bundle that was provided, is that part of the investigation report?
Yes, it is. So you
Okay.
would have had it in front of
Let
you.
me accept.
The point, without taking any further time from Ms. Sigels Ngube, the point that I was making to you, I sought to make in this exercise, was to demonstrate to you that if you had regard to these charges, if you had proper regard to these charges, you would have seen that the charges that are being put to Brigadier Mkhwanazi did not depend, their success, in fact, the success of the disciplinary hearing did not depend on the things that you have listed here as material that must still be procured, and therefore not advising on the extension of the suspension. It's really all that I needed to demonstrate.
No, Chair, as I've mentioned, I've looked at it, the entire report of Erasmus. And in terms of the charges here, and I'll have to still look at where the document fits in that, but in terms of the charges here, it doesn't seem like 5 has any links to anywhere in the report. So hence my question is, from what I've detected or what I've considered, these were the questions I've posed in terms of the witnesses. So if there was, such a thing where that was very clear, and I could have seen who were the witnesses still required, or whether it was addressed in the witness list that it was there.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Behari. Mr. Mabel.
Thank you, Commissioner. Mr. Behari, just for your benefit, that document that Commissioner Baloy is referring to, if you stay in the annexure bundle that she's been dealing with, page 21, it has an index of evidence collected during investigation, which is part of the investigation report. If you go to page 21. Do you have it?
Page 21, I've got it. Yeah.
Index of evidence collected during investigation. And if you go to page 22, you'll see that the last document there says intent to suspend, suspension letter of Brigadier J.M. Kwanazi.
Yes.
And that's the document she was exploring with you.
Okay.
So it was part of the file.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Sigal.
Thank you.
Then can I just go back to not the merits of your guidance that you gave to Colonel Erasmus, because that's been explored fully by the commissioners. I want to go to your involvement in the extension itself, as set out in your statement at page 13, paragraph 54.
Paragraph 54, yes.
Yes. Now, you will recall that you say in your statement that Mr. Colonel Erasmus came to you in late May 2023. You are responding in your statement to allegations made by, amongst others, Mr. Ngiza. Can we go to his statement? It would be one of the files that has been provided to you. And I want to go to page 17, where he speaks about the extension and the events that transpired. Paragraph 43, Chair. Page 17 of Ms. Ngiza's statement. Do you have it?
Yes, I do.
Paragraph 43. In the middle of May 2023, Lieutenant Colonel Erasmus raised concerns with me about the possible expiration of Brigadier Mkwanazi's 3-month suspension period. The suspension was due to expire on 24 May 2023. I advised him that if the EMPD required an extension of Brigadier Mkwanazi's suspension period, they must submit a written motivation signed by Chief Mapieye. That request must then be addressed to Ms. Kasheka, HODHR. I received the extension request and discussed it with Ms. Kasheka, and she agreed to sign and extend the suspension. On or about 22 May 2023, it was submitted to Ms. Kasheka. On the night of 23 May 2023, I received a missed call from Dr. Mashazi. I called her back some 30 minutes after the timestamp of the missed call. She had found out about the request for the extension of Brigadier Mkwanazi's suspension period. In that call, Dr. Mashazi was virulent, aggressive, and accused me of being personal, hateful, and that I was targeting Brigadier Mkwanazi. She held at me and told me that Chief Mapieye and I hate Julius. Then if we can go to paragraph 47. I calmly explained to Dr. Mashazi that I don't even have the power to suspend employees and extend their suspension periods. I attempted to explain that the powers vest in Ms. Nkasheka as the Human Resources HOD. Dr. Mashazi shouted that she will also call her, referring to Ms. Nkasheka, and will tell her that Brigadier Mkwanazi is coming back to work. And then if we skip the next paragraph, go to 49. I immediately tried to call Chief Mapieye, but I could not reach him. Finally, we spoke later that day, and Chief Mapieye informed me that he had also received a nasty telephone call from Dr. Mashazi. He shared that Dr. Mashazi had told him in no uncertain terms that this Brigadier Mkwanazi must come back to work. On that day, I also attempted to reach Ms. Kasheka unsuccessfully. She responded to me late that night. At around 00:49, I received a WhatsApp from Ms. Kasheka saying, please draft a resumption of duty letter for Brigadier Mkwanazi as he is resuming duties today. She mentioned in another message that I hope Chief contacted him. Now, I want to place you in this sequence of events. Were you the person that told Dr. Mashazi about the request for an extension?
No. I spoke to Dr. Dr. Mashazi about the considerations I had in that document. There was nothing about extension. The only extension that request came to me was to support was from Erasmus. The issue of the extensions, I know nothing about. As I said, in terms of the process going forward, it would have been, the ultimate decider would have been HODHR. I assisted about 2 weeks or within the last week of pay to assist in terms of a compliance comment to support the extension. I was not involved in that process.
Okay. Now, you would have seen what he says in his statement that he was approached in the middle of May already regarding the extension. I think my difficulty in accepting the version that you are putting forward before the commission, that Lieutenant Colonel Erasmus approached you on guidance regarding the suspension, is that the extension of the suspension, is that at this point a request was already in the process of being made. As you had said earlier on, the HR process for the extension was already underway. So it is difficult to understand why somebody from Internal Affairs, Lieutenant Colonel Erasmus, who had now given the matter over to Mr. Ngiza, who is an HR specialist, you will accept that, correct? And then would come to you, somebody that hasn't been involved in the process at all, to ask you for guidance on what could possibly be the eve of the decision being made. But the request was already submitted to Ms. Tasheka.
Chair, I'm not sure. As I said, this was when I looked at the statements from Neza, but that he came to me to support. Maybe this is why he understood the difficulty. Then he asked if I could support such a thing, because I am not aware from the process going to the HR via DH Neza. As per what you said, I only know that when he came to me, Colonel Erasmus came to me, it was about can I support the extension of the suspension. These are uncovered later on during the evidence and the record.
No, Mr. Behari, you said when you spoke to him, he told you that the extension process was already with HR. That was your evidence earlier on. And he was just coming to you for guidance. Yeah. Now, why is he coming to you for guidance on a process that is already underway and a decision which, according to Mr. Ngiza, Ms. Kasheka is in support of? She's going to approve the extension. Then what happens is you get involved and all of a sudden there's a change of heart. Ms. Kasheka gets told, according to Mr. Ngiza, that she mustn't approve the extension.
Chair, I've not discussed the issue of the extension request to City Manager. I discussed with City Manager giving an update on the issues I found in the file. I did not talk to the extension issues in terms of granting. I'll only explain to what my discussions were with Erasmus in terms of what I found in the file. Erasmus came to me to support the extension. Perhaps he thought that I could have assisted them and it would have made the decision of Kasheka easier. I wasn't aware of all of the other engagements in terms of the threats and so on. I wasn't aware of that.
Well, of the role players involved, it can only be one of two people, possibly, that told Dr. Mashazi. It was either you or it was Ms. Kasheka. But we know at some point she was in favor of the extension and then she changes her mind. Chief Mapieye wouldn't have told, and neither would Ms. Ngiza, because they say she found out about it.
I mentioned to Dr. Mashazi, that there was a request to look at the docket to support an extension. These are the issues I picked up. Beyond that, I was not involved in the further process. So I had a discussion to talk about the documents that I found and the process I found, which needed to be addressed further, and not to, because if that was the case, I wouldn't have then proceeded to look at suggesting let's proceed immediately with the disciplinary process. If there was something that I was waiting, because I suggested to Henny Erasmus, Lieutenant Colonel, that you can proceed immediately. If it was a matter of me now trying to impact that and giving her update, why would I suggest something against to proceed immediately?
Mr. Behari, in all that you've just said now, you have admitted that you informed Dr. Mashazi about the request for the extension of the suspension.
Chair, I mentioned earlier on when you asked me, did you give an update who you communicated with? And I did communicate to Dr. Mashazi. She was, in terms of giving an update on the issues. So when I said to Erasmus, it was not my intent to say, no, stop it. I do not know what was going to be the resultant impact of that. Because I have to give an update to the HOD, to the city manager to say, this is where I found, I think we must concretize our case this way. And I've spoken to Erasmus about that. And I suggested in paragraph 62, let's proceed to Erasmus, Lieutenant Colonel, let's proceed immediately.
Why do you need to give an update to the city manager? She's not part of the process. According to Ms. Ngiza, he isn't even authorized to grant the suspension, the extension. It must be motivated by Chief Mapiyeye and approved by Ms. Ngiza. The city manager has no involvement. Kasheka, my apologies, Kasheka. So on what basis then do you feel that you should inform the city manager about a process which, when she gave evidence here herself, said that she doesn't get involved in that process?
The city manager doesn't get involved in the process because it's delegated to the HOD. But when that initial suspension happened, the initial suspension, I think sometimes in February, Gasheka, the city manager was aware of the process and that there was suspension. There are these allegations, there are serious allegations about CAT VIP and so on. So my response to city manager, Dr. Mashazi, was as a result of her being aware of the process. So she knew about the involvement or the suspension, which at the beginning was involved, and I understand she knew about it and there was no objection at that stage. But to go further than from what I involved, everything that we deal with, and you escalate it and you say to the city manager, I've dealt with the stuff, this is the way the process is. I didn't know that thereafter what was the take on that.
Mr. Behari, why did you feel the need to go inform the city manager about the request by Chris Erasmus? Because it has nothing to do with her. It's an HR issue that can be dealt with by HR people. You've already said she's aware of the serious allegations. So you don't need to tell her about those. They come to you as head of legal, seeking legal advice on the extension of a suspension. That has nothing to do with the city manager. You then go and tell her that Erasmus is seeking the extension of the suspension. So the very first question that was put to you, was it you? It could only have been you. Your initial answer was no. But then in the course of answering other questions, you actually admitted that it was you who told the city manager about the request to extend the suspension.
Chair, I think when it was at the very outset, when I was asked about who did you brief on it, I mentioned city manager and I mentioned the HOD. Now, in terms of the relationship, when I spoke to Lieutenant Colonel Erasmus, after that, I had to brief the city manager, say, right, on this issue, critical issue, this is what the next stage is. I'm asked to support an extension, and I've dealt with it and engaged with Lieutenant Colonel Erasmus. So thereafter, whatever happened, transpired from there, who was called and so on, I don't know, Chair.
But the question is, why do you brief the city manager? This level of employee, Kwanazi, doesn't fall with, as I've understood the evidence, he's not in the category of people where the city manager becomes involved with his disciplinary action or disciplinary action against him. And that the city manager confirmed that doesn't belong there. you speak to Erasmus, as Commissioner Khumalo says, because Erasmus has come to you to ask for guidance according to you. Why are you discussing this with the city manager? It's not, if you're concerned about briefing the city manager to keep in the loop, it seems to me that's a job for HOD, Human Resources, not your burden. You don't get to grant extensions of suspension. You have nothing to do with this process other than Erasmus has come and spoken to you now. Why are you speaking to the city manager about a mid-level manager?
Chair, the issue was greater than a mid-level manager. The issue was about the involvement of CAT VIP and Medicare 24 in our city. The city manager at that level when she decided to go on and approve the initial, or talk to the suspension initially, would have to be briefed into the process of flow in terms of what are we uncovering, how are we supporting that to finalize the disciplinary.
Is your short answer that Dr. Mashazi was involved with this disciplinary steps and process against Brigadier Mkhwanazi? Is that the short answer to what I've said?
The initial complaint came through, it became aware of the entire city. She's the accounting officer of the city.
Yes.
So as that, there was an interest in terms of what is happening with the matter.
No,
so,
she didn't ask you. You went, your evidence is, you met with her and then you told her this, among other things. So this is not a case of she called you, at least that's not what you've said, that she called you and asked you what's happening. You were talking to her and you mentioned this.
Yes.
And the question is, but this is none of her business at this point. There's an ongoing disciplinary process. And all that you have been asked, by the way, is to, according to you, to give guidance on extending a suspension. That's all you've been asked. Erasmus didn't approach you to discuss and get advice on the merits of this disciplinary action. He's come to you in your statement to get guidance on the extension. What is there to discuss with the city manager? Why are you speaking to the city manager about this? And I want to propose something to you, that you're discussing this with her because you know her interest. Interest not as neutral, but because she's close to Mkhwanazi. You know she doesn't want Mkhwanazi to be disciplined. That's why you're talking to her about this. I want to propose that. That's a real reason why you discuss this with her, when in fact it's none of her business at this point. It's still under Grasheka's and Niza's control to run that process up to where they wish to take it to finality. So it has nothing to do with her. And you knew that. You know that she's not involved with it. And so I'm suggesting to you, the reason you discuss it with her is because you knew her direct interest in the disciplinary action against Mkhwanazi, 1. 2, you knew that she doesn't want disciplinary action to be taken against him, and that's the only reason that you talked to her about it.
Chair, on point 1 and 2, I don't support that. I don't agree with it. I did not know what her direct interest was, and there was nothing about not taking disciplinary action against Mkhwanazi. Because if that was the case, it would have been stopped in the previous time when the suspension was started in February, when there was approved. I would have stopped then. My interest was, and I briefed city manager on all critical issues relating to the city. Every matter that comes through in which I've dealt with, I give the city manager an update to say I've dealt with it. On this matter, to say that Colonel Erasmus came to me, we're looking at how we can finalize make sure that the charges are concrete, to make sure what evidence is required, and that is what the extent of my discussion. It was very brief in that regard. Nothing further. I was not aware of any other interest the city manager had, and I was not part of any other interest. It is about just looking at, and on a daily basis, Chair, on many matters, as long as it's the interest of the city, we give that briefing. Sir.
All right, thank you, Mr. Behari.
And then you say you advise the city manager on the shortcomings of the city's case against Mkhwanazi. So in other words, what you state in paragraph 56 to 61, that's what you told the city manager.
Chair, in stating that to the city manager, it was about how we can cure the defects, how we can look at finalizing that process, which I discussed with Erasmus. That is what my engagement was. Because my interest was to see that we do not have a case where we don't cover all our bases. And that is what, since I've been there in the city, in all our cases, not only in this one here, but in all matters, whether it's whichever space. So I did tell the CM we need to cover on these issues. These are the issues I found. We need to cover.
You see, Mr. Behari, exactly what you said in the middle of your answer. We don't have a case. That's exactly what Ms. Mashazi, Dr. Mashazi said, that she was acting on your advice.
Yes.
You advised her that the city does not have a case against Mkhwanazi. In fact, she went on TV to say something to that effect.
Chair, based on the circumstances as it stood, I mean, the narrow constraints which were mentioned by the chair and so on individual charges, yes. But holistically, in terms of what I required, and this is what I briefed the city manager on, to say that there are still these issues that we needed to finalize.
I mean, even Gwabe's affidavit, in paragraph 3, he says Mkhwanazi misrepresented the facts to him. Mkhwanazi said to him, there is a signed memorandum. And it's on 277 or 177. We've been there before, so you must have seen it. 277.
Chair,
You can read it, it's there.
yeah,
Paragraph 3.
I don't discount what you're saying, Chair. Mkhwanazi contacted me indicating that the EMPD had signed a memorandum.
He says, Mkhwanazi said there's a signed memorandum.
Yeah.
So everything Gwabe says about donations happens because Mkhwanazi misrepresented the facts to him. Mkhwanazi misrepresented the fact that there's a memorandum that is signed.
Chair.
You know there's no signed memorandum.
I know that, Chair.
Yes.
And Gwabe, as a divisional head, ought to have done his process and asked him, where's the signed memorandum?
See, you're doing exactly what Chair warned you not to do. You are asked about Mkhwanazi. You deflect, you go to the people he dealt with and you say they are the ones who should have done something. Mkhwanazi should not have misrepresented the facts. It's as simple as that.
Chair, I agree that he should not have misrepresented. But there must be some level of due diligence to the person who is receiving that representation, who is in a position of power and knowledge within the city. It cannot be that everybody comes and says to you, this is what, that you go on and make decisions and take action without verifying the sources, without verifying the facts on which are presented to you.
Mr. Behari, I've said this before, at the risk of repeating myself. When you realize that all those people have not done what they are supposed to do, the answer is to investigate and charge them. The answer is not to say, because they did something wrong in the past, we don't have a case against Mkhwanazi. That is incorrect.
Chair, that will amount to several separations of the process. Remember, this arises from one incident. It arises from one incident. It arises from the engagements of the donations. It arises from CAT, VIP, and Medicare 24 being in the city. Now, if we're going to start doing individual charges, when we could have holistically sorted out who has done what, who could have been accountable, because if there's going to be denials, why should we go with a weak case? And then I'll say, okay, no, we can charge the other people. We'll investigate. That is one of the issues we're trying to curtail, that you can't have too many processes arising out of one incident, Chair.
Are you going to show us a memorandum where you say to the city of Ekurhuleni or the city manager, let's investigate and charge all these people?
Chair, there's no such memorandum.
Because it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist
because you didn't tell her that these people should be investigated. You didn't say to her, on the face of these documents, Stein did something wrong. We must investigate him. On the face of these documents, Gwabe did something wrong. We must investigate him. On the face of these documents, Mapiyaya did something wrong in relation to the draft MOUs that were sent to him. We must investigate. You never did any of that. What you said to the city manager was that we don't have a good case against Mkhwanazi. And that is why we are here and talking to you today.
Chair, the progress or the engagement with the city manager would say, I've received this report. These are what the issues I've looked at. Now, in us finalizing that, would have looked at, is there other cases? And hence my engagement with Erasmus was. So at that stage, I didn't go to the extent of saying, that's because they would have came in as a witness for the city. Guabe said this. As a witness for the city, Steiner said this. Now, if Erasmus then was to finalize, that would be risking our case against Mkonazi. That was the focus. We're looking at the case against Mkonazi. If subsequently we found that there was any statements that were inconsistent, we could have went through that. But the main issue here was to cover the serious issue of Mkonazi, the donations, the CAT VIP, and who was involved in the process. It could have also included Chief of Police. It could have also included Rivers Peace, because Mgwabe, Mzolo. So this is what I'm saying, that from my side, it was about having holistically to look at how we're going to deal with the matter. My brief update was with the city manager to say these are what the concerns I have. Thank you.
So was your difficulty that only Mkhwanazi is being charged and the chief and Spies and others are not being charged? I'm asking on the back of the last thing you said now.
Chair, that's not the difficulty I had. I was happy with Chief Mkhwanazi being charged for whatever it is. But there was much more serious, and I said, Mkhwanazi, but what else? Because there's much more incidents of...
Why are you asking what else when an individual is being charged? Sorry, I don't understand. An employee is accused of serious misconduct, and the process has started. According to you, the city manager supported it at the beginning, and indeed, that's the evidence of Mr. Ngiza and Chief Mapie, that before any steps were taken against Brigadier Mkhwanazi, they went to speak to the city manager. And when they were asked the question, both witnesses, when they were asked, why did you do that? They said, we did that because we know that they're close, they have a close relationship, and we didn't want to get into trouble about it. We wanted to inform her in advance, and she was supportive of whatever action we are going to take. So we know that. And you've just confirmed she knew from the get-go. Disciplinary, certain steps are taken against this one employee. Why do you now, when you are asked by Mr. Erasmus to guide him about an extension, you now go and speak to the city manager? Why in that speaking to the city manager do you now start saying, what about the others? As if it has any consequence whatsoever for disciplinary steps being taken against the individual.
It had no consequence, and I didn't raise that with the city manager. The issue was raised with Erasmus in our conversation. Which are the other witnesses that are outstanding? Because the evidence is pointing, to say that CAT VIP and all were in the city. And I'm taking it back to the issue of the State of the City Address. Who was involved in the State of the City Address? It was also Mkhwanazi that was involved in the State of the City Address. And that is why I'm saying it is a very serious issue, but you're focusing on a donation issue? Yes, by all means. You're focusing on the MOU issue? By all means. But then what is the process that was followed from the State of the City Address? Who are all the people who should be informed? That was never discussed with the city manager. The city manager gave an update as to accordingly, Mgwabe, we need to sort this matter out, we need to finalize this. So we concretize our case against Mkhwanazi. If it came up later on, there were other officials involved from the further investigation, then so be it. It could have taken place. I didn't give a comment or a memorandum to city manager in that regard.
Okay. So you when you spoke to the city manager, you told her that the case against Mr. Mkhwanazi is not good. You would have said that because that's what you advise Mr. Erasmus.
I said there was concerns that I had on these issues, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Baloy. Mr. Behari, I think we can probably move on to your evidence earlier on when you were leading your own evidence. You had said that after the 22nd of June 2023, when you engaged with Chief Mapie, you didn't have any further involvement in this matter until 2025, with the exception of the IPID issue. Is that correct?
No, IPID issue happened in 2023,
23.
November. I think it was a November period.
It was September, yes, that's when yes. But other than that aspect, you had no involvement in Commissioner Mkwanazi's disciplinary issue for 2 years until 2025.
Yes.
Okay. Now, we know that in May, the suspension is then not extended, and Commissioner Mkwanazi comes back to work. And what happens to the disciplinary process?
Chair, I didn't, because it was gone into the HR space. I didn't go back further and look at it. Erasmus didn't come back to me. Chief of Police, I think on the 22nd, sent me a letter. 22nd of June, 2023.
21st of June, yes.
Yeah, I dated 21st, but I received, served in my office on the 22nd.
Yes. That was following the discussion you had with him on that
With him on
same
the
day.
20th, yes.
Okay.
Right.
I'm speaking about, so after June, there's,
I had no engagements on that until the IPID document came through.
okay. Now, your evidence was that on the 22nd of August 2023, the city manager issues this directive, which has this legal review, extra step, legal review assessment that's done by your team. And that's in August 2023. In May 2023, you had given Lieutenant Colonel, what is his name now? Erasmus, your views on the matter. You're now in charge. In August 2023, there's a directive by the city manager that you must do a review. Why is it that you don't go back to that matter and say, what's happened here? We now have somebody who's facing serious allegations back at work, and I haven't heard back from anyone after I told them that they must look into these deficiencies.
Chair, once I deal with, in my environment, dealing with all the departments, from a day-to-day, I don't have the luxury to go back. So if it has happened that way, the direct further processes will be through the HR process. If it came back to me for some other reasons, for some other compliance, I would have dealt with it. The matter never came back to me. So it's very difficult to follow up on cases when I've given an opinion, and that happens with all the other departments. If I'm seeking a given opinion or discussion and say what can be done, I would think that you would either implement what I'm saying. If you decide not to proceed, then it's of course entirely up to that. But I don't follow up on these matters in all the departments I'm dealing with. Because if I have a discussion with you, I'll say to you, this is what I think we should happen, and thereafter it closes from there. If it comes back to me in another system where you say, I've addressed these issues, let's take it further, I would have taken it further.
But this is such a serious matter that you felt the need to voluntarily inform and brief the city manager on it because she was involved in some way in that process. So between the two of you, nobody is asking questions about the continuation of these disciplinary proceedings on charges which you both consider to be serious charges and somebody that is back in employment with the city.
Chair, it was not only that he was back in employment, I understood that he was also applied for a position and was given a higher position. So it's not only in this matter. It's look at that I'm dealing, but I don't have the luxury of that. I've got other departments, same thing. I will give city manager a briefing if I've met with the environmental department. If there's something, I'll give her a briefing and say, this is what it is, this is what I've recommended, and we'll wait for you to come back. But I don't go back and follow up because then it becomes an HR process specifically until it comes back to me by some query or another.
I think people call what you're doing right now otherism. We're not talking about other matters. We're talking about this specific matter which deals with Brigadier Mkwanazi. You know that he is back at work. You've raised concerns with Lieutenant Colonel Erasmus about this investigation and about the disciplinary proceedings. You've reported to the city manager about this. On your own version, you say the city manager considered this to be such a serious matter. I'm struggling to understand what is the benefit of this 22 August 2023 legal review assessment, this extra step that is supposed to be more efficient, make disciplinary processes more efficient, when one of your biggest matters are slipping through your fingers and the person is at work. You're not doing anything about it, and you knew about it even before this directive came into effect.
Chair, the issue of otherism is trying to show in terms of my responsibilities in the city. I've done that. Neither did Lieutenant Colonel Erasmus nor the Chief of Police come back and say, Kemi, we've addressed this issue, can we proceed further? Thereafter, I don't get involved with the HR process. So, to what extent do I have to go into every matter where another HOD is being fully briefed of what is required, doesn't do anything further, and the matter doesn't come back to me? It moves on. When you talk about otherism, I'm trying to give you the reality of the environment that I'm in. Thank you.
But you did get involved in this matter, even after that. You did get involved.
Are you talking about the iPad?
No. The email, the anonymous email, it raised the very same issues, and it caused you to cause a forensic investigation. So you got involved with the Mkhwanazi matter. You did.
I was involved in the Mkhwanazi to the extent that I've described here.
And that email was specific. That email said you and Dr. Mashazi and Mr. Sheka covered up for Mkhwanazi. So that email was very clear. In case you had forgotten about the Mkhwanazi matter, that should have jogged your memory. Instead, you go after the people who wrote the email. You don't deal with what happened to Mkhwanazi. These were such serious allegations. Prima facie, on the documents, he was guilty of misconduct. 2 instances of misrepresentation. According to you, unprompted, unlawful behavior.
Chair, the Mkhwanazi matters with regard to the investigation, we completed on the 22nd of June 2023. Thereafter, an email came through, the BX email, which made the allegations of cover-ups, which gave information on that. It released information on other aspects, which I believe that to escalate it against. In fact, it was received by all the addresses there. I think it included, I'm not sure if it included the city manager, but I believe it did. And when it was raised to me, but as Deputy Information Officer, what are we doing about this? I told city manager, I think we should get hold of internal audit and let them take the process further. The internal audit chief audit executive at that stage then proceeded further to instruct one of the internal auditors, and they proceeded to do the investigation.
It's wrong, Mr. Mashazi, to create the impression that after June, sorry, Mr. Behari.
Did you say Mr. or Mrs.?
You didn't hear. That's good. That's good. You didn't hear. That's good. You didn't hear. I was simply saying it is wrong of you to say after the June meeting, you never got involved until the IPID or in 2025.
No, Chair, the BX came in, but not to the extent of engaging with the matter. The BX email, when I say I didn't get involved
I think they are coming to that later on. Maybe let's just pack it there to say it is wrong that you never got involved in anything related to the charges against Mkhwanazi. Maybe it was for different reasons, but...
Yeah, so it's not dealing with what I've dealt with Erasmus and so on. It was a separate process thereafter.
Well, you've said that the chief also didn't do anything. That's not correct, though, because in his letter that he sends to you on the 21st of June, he's reminding you that charges need to be filed as soon as possible by the 22nd. Is that not correct? Do you want me to take you to it?
No, I've got the document.
It is in JM, the Mapia's statement, and it is...
Yeah, Chair, I've got the document. Chief writes to me...
Just give us the page number again.
Oh, no, I thought you had the... I'm referring to my copy on that document there.
I'll get the page number.
But do you have that? Can you refer that?
Is it JM 32?
That's correct.
182, MAPIA annexures.
I have that document here.
Yes. So this is the letter that you were referring to earlier on, that you had received on the 22nd of June, even though it's dated the 21st.
Yes.
And if we look at, I think it is at the second page, the second paragraphs undated. This indicated period of 3 months must be before the 12th of July 2023. Taking into consideration the charge sheets needs to be served as per. And then he says section 7.8, the employer representative shall within 5 days of his appointment formulate and serve the charges to be brought against the employee. So he's setting out for you the steps that must be followed. And then he says the delays of great concern as the alleged misconduct was exposed by the media. A very senior officer is involved and is of such a serious nature that it will permanently damage not only the reputation of the EMPD, but also of the city of Ekurhuleni should the postponement of serving the charge sheet be furthermore postponed. A perception is also created that the officer involved and the very serious misconduct exposed are being protected and swept under the carpet. Your considered noting urgent attention and way forward is appreciated. What did you do about this letter?
Chair, on the 21st, I had approximately 1 hour engagement with the chief. And we got all the information where I explained to him, Chief, firstly, on paragraph 3, Chief, 24th of May 2023 is when it expired. The suspension would have expired. But give me the timelines, because what happened is, if you want me to deal with the issue, I've told you what are the problems, and I think this is how it could also expose in terms of you getting involved in different areas. The MOU came to your attention. I heard later on he denied it, but the MOU came to your attention. There's no explanation what happened. Other issues of the State of the City address, you noticed that there was other companies or other employees from other companies there.
Mr. Behari, you're doing it again, and I don't mean to interrupt you. You can explain yourself afterwards. I just want to know what was your response to this letter, because you're telling me about your discussion before the letter comes. So if you look at the first paragraph of the letter, on page 182, it says, further to our discussion regarding the above matter. So this is after you had told him all of what you're telling us now. He sends you the letter because he says, as discussed earlier today and agreed upon, that I shall provide you with a copy of the internal dossier listing all the documentary evidence whereupon the decision to proceed with the disciplinary matter has been based, and that you will peruse this during the 22nd of June 2023 and provide a way forward urgently as per the background listed here under. So what was your response to this letter?
I did not respond to the letter because the dossier did not come to me. The documents, it says here, on the 21st, which is served to me, I shall provide you with the dossier of the documents. So he didn't send me all those documents. There was other explanations which you have fully in the meeting which we discussed, the timelines that were followed and so on. So I did not respond further because I've explained to the chief what needs to be done and how we can address the matter. There was no need for me to go further to tell him again, to respond to another letter to him to say how it can be. All the things the chief has said to me here was contained in the discussion on the 21st as well.
Mr. Behari, I think you're going to be hard-pressed to convince 4 lawyers that you as a lawyer didn't respond to this when you didn't receive the documents. So you don't get the documents back from him and you're not requesting it.
I did not get the documents from Chief. He needed me to respond under very strict timelines. I had to give him a response by taking into consideration the above stipulation. It means that the charge sheet must be served on or before 22nd of June 2023. So a document is served before me. I had not got the documents.
No. Mr. Behari, in his the second paragraph, after he says further to our discussion, he says, and that you will peruse this during the 22nd. It was an agreement and agreed upon that I shall provide you with the copy and you will peruse during the 22nd of June 2023. So you knew about the tight timeline. And you don't get the documents from him on the 22nd, but you don't follow up with him and say, there were no documents attached to your letter, or when am I getting the documents? You want an answer as soon as possible, but I don't have the documents.
Chair, what was conveyed to me at that stage was that the appointment of the presiding officer mid-June, in our letter engagement, he wanted me to, I said to him, I'll look at the documents urgently. The documents never came to me. The issue of taking into consideration of the above stipulation means the charge sheet must be served on or before the 22nd. That was never discussed. So you're asking me to assist you, and I'll look over it on the 22nd. But you did not say to me that we have to finalize this by the 22nd of June. And that is where, as I said, I spoke to the chief. So if the chief did not take it up further and bring it to my attention and say, let's go ahead, you serve a document me on the 22nd of, the letter dated, you serve it to me on the 22nd of June. And then you say to me, it has to be done, the charge sheet must be served on or before the 22nd of June. What can I do as a head of legal in terms of serving the charge sheet or not serving the charge sheet?
But then, Mr. Behari, you say to him, I haven't had time to have a look at the documentation. What is it that you want to do, Chief? And then you have a discussion. You don't ignore him. He's telling you that this is an urgent matter that needs to be attended to. There's been a delay which is recorded here, which is clearly not of his doing, because he's complaining about the delay. He says, I have a concern about the delay. And you're delaying him further. And I find it hard to believe that a lawyer of your many years of experience, 28 years as you say, when you don't receive supporting documents, you don't go back to the lay person and say to him, you haven't given me the documents to consider. Bearing in mind, you have considered these documents before. He has nothing new. There's nothing new that he has in these documents that Lieutenant Colonel Erasmus didn't already give to you a month earlier.
Chair, the opening paragraph or the second paragraph, as discussed earlier today, when we had our meeting on the 21st, I shall provide you with a copy of the internal dossier listing all the documentary evidence whereupon the decision to proceed with the disciplinary has been based. That is, what then was met on the 12th of April when NISA decided to proceed with disciplinary. So there's additional documents that he was supposed to have proceeded. And then he served the document to me on the 22nd of June. Taking into consideration the above stipulation, it means that the charge sheet must be served on or before the 22nd of June. On the 22nd of June, I had no documents. I was not even at work on the 22nd of June. I only came back the following Tuesday. If he had contacted me and said, no, but where are you? We need to do this, I would have followed it. It is a two-way issue. I have all other issues to deal with, other rhythms, you mentioned that. But that is the reality of my environment. Okay? I cannot go, if a chief is committed to give me documents, chief is committed to follow up. So even though he's a lay person in terms of the law itself, I don't know to what he's involved as a lay person, but the commitment which he made to me was to bring the documents. And I cannot go and chase after the chief. He's a senior manager at my level. He's committed to do that issues. He did not do it. I was not there on the 22nd. I left out of the province. I got back on, but he could have still called me and said to me, but can we not finalize this? But if it had to be on the 22nd, if the deadline was 22nd, what else could I have done to assist the chief when he knows that this, and the 22nd deadline only came to me after this. Taking into consideration of the above, it means that the charge sheet must be served on the 22nd. That is where.
Mr. Behari, if you look at page 181, someone acknowledges receipt of the dossier. Who is that, Engelbrecht?
That's the PA, Louise Engelbrecht.
That's your PA?
Yeah.
So it was delivered on the 22nd because he or she acknowledges receipt on the 22nd of June. So you can't say the chief did not deliver the dossier. Maybe you didn't see it because you say you were out of the office, but someone in your office, accepted
I was
it.
out on the day, which she acknowledged receipt of that, but it was delivered on the 22nd, Chair.
Yes, no, that's fine. Let's take it step by step. You say he never delivered it, and I'm correcting you to say, well, according to Engelbrecht, it was delivered to your office on the 22nd.
Chair, it was delivered on the 22nd. By then I was out of the office. But he delivered the entire documents that so these were the complete internal affairs EMPD investigation dossier. The engagement between us was that he will look at the documents that led to the 12th of April decision to proceed. So that is the extent where I looked at any additional, because we've covered all the other documents. My engagement with him during the meeting was on the issues as we looked at what are the challenges that we could foresee. So I was not there to correct the documents, to say that, Chief, this is lacking and so on. But it is impossible on that day to serve the charges on the 22nd, and what kind of, what kind of engagement would I have done to intervene in the serving of the charges?
But you see, in that first paragraph of that letter, he says it was agreed upon that he will provide an internal dossier, and then you will peruse this during the 22nd. And I haven't heard you deny that there was such an agreement.
No, there was, in the discussion that we had, Chair,
It was agreed
I would
that you
look
would
at it.
peruse it on the 22nd.
but not realizing that it had to be done by the 22nd, Chair, because the charges had to be drafted or served by the 22nd. In fact, I don't know where I got the information. I will just look at, but there's some information where he says it should be served by the 19th of June.
Yeah, he may well have done that. What I'm running past you is you agreed with him that you would consider the dossier on the 22nd of June 2023, and you are not denying that there was such an agreement. And for me, the relevance of my question really is because you say, well, when could I have done it? I wasn't in the office on the 22nd. And if you're not denying that you agreed, as he records in the first paragraph, you must have thought you would be able to do it on the 22nd, even if you're not in the office.
No, we did. We did talk about me
Yes.
looking at assisting in the process, but not knowing, he didn't mention to me that it's due on the 22nd, on the same day. Whereas if you look at the last paragraph in that first page, it said the charge sheet was submitted by DH in NISA and scheduled to be served for the 19th. It had to be done by the 22nd. And I'm saying he sends to me on the 22nd, expecting me to get involved on the 22nd.
Let's take a short adjournment and resume at 4:10. And from 4:10, we'll sit until 5. Let's adjourn.
Thank you.